Call to order of the County Neighborhood Board number 30. Before we begin, let me read some of the rules as stipulated by Sunshine Law and rules of the board here for the Neighborhood Commission. So rules of speaking: to ensure the maximum opportunity for all attendees to be heard, the following guidelines apply. Anyone wishing to speak is asked to type their question in the chat box or raise their hand using the raise hand function in the online Zoom platform, which is indicated by a hand. If accessing the meeting using your phone and you have a comment, indicate this by pressing the symbols 3 or *3. This will show the moderator that the person calling from that number wishes to speak. To mute and unmute your phone, press *6. Please wait until recognized by the chair to begin comments and address those comments to the chair. All official reports, comments, or concerns shall be 3 minutes or less. Please kokua to help all attendees the opportunity to hear presentations and comments. Please place your device on mute until you would like to speak. When you are recognized, unmute yourself and make your comments. The board will act on any agenda item as required by the state Sunshine Law. Specific issues not noted on this agenda cannot be voted on unless added to the agenda. A 2/3 vote, 12 of the 17-member board, is needed to add an item to the agenda. Items may not be added if they are of major importance and will affect a significant number of people. Okay, that concludes my opening remarks. Okay, yes, and for testifiers, especially those in the room and online, please mention your name so we can record that properly in our minutes. Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you. So next agenda item for the board is item number 2, filling of vacancies on the board. Sub-District 2, Windward Mall, and Sub-District 7, Pool Hala. Sub-District 2 includes Crown Terrace. One who would like to, who is a resident of those areas, would like to join or interested in joining the board. Seeing none, and none in the audience are online, let's move on to agenda item number 3. City and state monthly reports and discussions. 3 minutes each for, let's begin with Honolulu Fire Department.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Glenn Camp from Kāne Fire Station here. I'll give you a presentation tonight. I'll be with a statistic below. They represent confirmed number of incidents in our area for the previous month. So for more details on the incidents and relating mapping information, you can actually visit our website. It's fire.honolulu.gov. And then on that website, you can click on some tabs, but there's a tab that says News and Info tab. There's a map of Oahu, and there'll be a bubble for all the incidents. So that'll be a little bit more detailed information if you're looking for that. So these are the statistics for the month of October. We had 1 structure fire, 3 nuisance fires, and 3 activated alarms, which resulted in no fires. As far as medical emergencies, we had 123 medical emergencies. We had 1 motor vehicle collision with a pedestrian, 1 motor vehicle crash, 12 motor vehicle crashes, 1 mountain rescue, and 1 hazardous materials incident. And here's our safety tip for the month. Cooking is the leading cause of home fires. Protect yourself, your family, and your neighborhood by practicing these prevention tips. For more information and resources, visit fire.honolulu.gov. Stay in the kitchen while you're cooking. You're not leaving cooking unattended. If you must leave the kitchen, turn off the stove. Keep items such as oven mitts, wooden utensils, towels, etc. away from the stove top, even when the stove is off. Never store items on the stove top or in the oven. Keep a lid nearby to smother small grease fires. Smother the fire by sliding a lid over the pan and turning the stove off. Only plug 1 heat-producing appliance, such as a coffee maker, toaster, etc., into an outlet at a time. Create a 3-foot child and pet-free zone around your cooking area. That's all I have for you tonight. Have any questions?
Any questions for fire department? Mr. Sakamoto.
Oh, thank you for a presentation. I just got a question on that map you said that's on your
Yeah.
website.
Yes.
As a blind individual, does it indicate what it is or it's all by sight?
It's all by sight.
Okay, if I have any concerns, can I relay that to you?
Yeah, I'll give you an email. You can relay it.
Thank you.
So the email will be hfdnhb@honolulu.gov.
Right, no further questions. Thank you, Captain.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Good stats. Next on the agenda is Honolulu Police Department. On the agenda item, there's also two questions forwarded by the board for discussion on speeding enforcement by Member Feitel and also discussion of arrests of trespassers on Haiku Stairs with Mr. Sakamoto, but please proceed.
Good evening, everyone, board, members of the committee. My name is Lieutenant Drew Kāne. I'm the lieutenant for District 4. We're presenting the stats. We have 7 motor vehicle thefts this month compared to 4 the previous month. 1 burglary this month compared to 1 the previous month. We had 19 thefts compared to 23 thefts the previous month. 12 car break-ins compared to 6 break-ins the previous month. And 0 robberies this month compared to 1 the month before. Just wanted to mention that with the Christmas season coming along, if you see anything out of the ordinary in the neighborhood, don't hesitate to call 911. Usually we see a spike in property crime during the Christmas season. If you have any questions.
All right, we do have the two items that were ordered by Mr. Feitel and Mr. Sakamoto. Neil, you want to go ahead?
Thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant. This is a question. I'm just going to pose it. I'm going to put it out there. It's also for city council member, just to get into the record. Hawaii was recently voted the worst state for drivers in the United States. I didn't read that one. Speeding accounts for 30% of all motor vehicle deaths. A police officer on a motorbike was just hit by a car yesterday, day before. In Kāne, it is dangerous to attempt to try and cross Cam Highway, even in a crosswalk. People are afraid. Everyone speeds 20, 30 miles an hour, the speed limit. Like H3, even Cam Highway heading towards Castle Junction. It's kind of out of hand. So I have 3 questions. What is the police department doing or planning to reduce the speeding problem on these major highways? I know we know that there were some warnings given out a couple of months ago in conjunction with the Marine Corps Police. And so is there anything else being planned? Do we need to speak directly to the traffic division, or who should we speak to in order to get some proactive help in trying to abate this problem? And third question is, do we need to talk to the council to enact more stringent laws? Would that help, or is that part of the problem? Thank you.
Regarding the speeding, I see where you're saying on Cam Highway. We run projects wherever we have certain areas, especially when complaints come in. Definitely, if you have a complaint with us, certain areas or specific areas, you can bring it up to call Kāne Station. We'll be more than happy to listen to that. And if we can, we'll put some project into place to address speeding. But yeah, anytime you have specific concerns, we will be open to listen to that and seeing how we can address the problems to help you guys out.
Is that coming to the station or with the community policing?
The Kāne Station.
Okay.
And then we can definitely write it down, pass it out to both day watch and night watch, kind of determine when it's occurring and make that adjustment there.
That good?
Just follow up one time. But unfortunately, these are not sporadic occurrences. This is a general malaise, a general speeding, a general lack of paying attention to the posted speed limit that exists on the Like on the H3. I mean, it's notoriously bad. So it's not like you could just call every once in a blue moon. We kind of need some special action to be taken. And that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Okay, absolutely. I will bring this concern up with Major Paiva and see what we can maybe assist if she can contact the assistants with the traffic division, the solo bikes, get them out here. I know they come out here nighttime and do certain enforcements here and there with PUIs and speeding. So maybe we can get them more out here to help out a little bit more.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sakamoto, is this what Mr. Faitel's or is this your agenda item?
It's just elaborate about Mr. Patel.
Okay, 1 minute,
Okay,
please.
for that questions you asked about. As a person that lives by the H3 and has called 911 many times, after that 52 citations, I haven't seen a big group of vehicles coming in more on weekends like they used to do, but I do see, and I actually hear motorcycles, so I do call 911 on that, and hopefully they can catch these culprits that go back and forth. Thank you.
So just regarding that H3, that is I came here to the district in March, and that's been an ongoing project every night. When I work, when I watch, I know especially the weekends, just to let you know, we do set people up on the tunnels to greet these guys, speeders, racing groups, to make sure they're following the laws when they enter our community. And then usually they turn around. Unfortunately, Mr. Sakamoto, by your house, but they head right on out, which we like, so they don't cause too much of an inconvenience for the community.
All right, thank you for doing that. Mr. Sakamoto, your agenda item on Haiku Stairs.
Yeah, last month I asked the question about the 18 arrests, I think, at Haiku. How's that Haiku Stairs trespassing going? Is there still violations or it's been cleaned up, you think?
Unfortunately, there's still violations occurring.
Oh,
Yeah, the 16 was a group that made a poor choice that day. But we do still encounter trespassers.
okay. And what time would you say? It's all different times, mostly in the morning or late?
It varies from very, very early in the morning to evening time.
And are they coming from Haiku residents or from someplace else? Do you think?
They're coming from the residential areas.
Okay,
And they somehow making up into the mountain and try to avoid us.
Mhm.
We seem to have a very good process up there right now.
okay. Kudos for what you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the community? We do have hey, Cecil, you have your hand up. Go ahead. I think you're still muted. Or we'll
Okay.
get you
Can
unmuted.
can you hear me
Yep.
now?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, I recently had a situation, excessive noise. There was a band playing down by the fish pond, and I called HPD, and an officer came out, and he went down by the fish pond, and he reported back to me that that was some kind of a community program that was put on by University of Hawaii. And they said that it would be over at 10 o'clock. So it seemed to me like he seemed, in fact, he said that the noise level was reasonable until 10 o'clock. So is there, it would have been my wish that he'd at least had them tone it down a little bit or do something, but he did not. So, I mean, what's your criteria for establishing when the noise is excessive?
When those complaints come in, usually we take the 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. and we usually shut it down after that. But we'll try to look at what's reasonable, and we will talk to the party that's hosting the event and see if we can get some kind of cooperation and really just try to see how loud it is. If it's really, really loud, of course, we're going to tell them that they absolutely got to turn it down, It's just, especially if it's disturbing the neighborhood. I can't speak specific for what happened that night, but that's usually the thumb of rule would go.
Well, officer, with all due respect, I live virtually a half a mile from the fish pond, and
Mhm.
and it sounded like it was in my backyard, but he said that it was acceptable.
I can bring that up to the personnel, should that happen again, to just really be careful on what they deem is reasonable.
Okay, please do. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, one more question then, Mr. Kamine.
This is in regards to the traffic thing. I kind of caught one of the transportation meetings that the council members had. Councilmember Guy, as well as Pulla, I think that's her name. They endorsed the ordinance to create a 20-mile-an-hour school zone. So a lot of the crossing the street, and I know you want everyone, like I walk my park, get a pothole, how people, Sakamoto knows all about those potholes.
Okay, so let me
But
stop you right there. Is this something you can answer, HPD?
we're gonna, I guess, start with, what's that? I know there was spoken in that meeting that they're gonna start with warnings, I think, like the warm up, like even with any of the changes, even with something like that, or even stricter enforcement. Guys do a lot of stop and warning, or you start doing fines and corrective action like drivers.
Okay, I think he's got the question. Yeah, we'll wait for their turn, but if they want to address that, but Sergeant, if you want to go ahead and,
Yeah, that's correct. Anytime there's a change in speed limit or something that's gonna be new that's happening, we do like try to determine a warning period, and then after that, we go into enforcement.
thank you. No further questions. Let's move on. Thank you, Sergeant. And we'll go on to Department of Transportation. Discussions on regarding flooding and slope stability near H3 on-ramp in Kāne and Yacht Club Knolls. We have Department of Transportation here. Or Governor's Rep. I think this question was proposed by Board Member Tomi. Are you online there?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Hi, Adriel, thanks. So yeah, this issue goes back to May when there was that really bad flooding across from Yacht Club Knolls. If y'all are familiar with Yacht Club Knolls, it's at the tail end of H3 as you get out towards the base. And the H3 is above Yacht Club Knolls and Kaneohe Bay Drive is below it. And the downpour was pretty bad on many parts of the island on May 12th and 13th. And water flooded over the knolls. The drains were blocked and the water actually was running atop Kaneohe Bay Drive and into the properties below Kaneohe Bay Drive. So I had talked to Mo and we invited a rep from HDOT to come talk to us back in August, Lee Nagano. And unfortunately, she was unable to make it that night, and there has not been an HDOT rep in the ensuing months. So I asked Mo if he could specifically reach out to them and renew that invitation for tonight. And unfortunately, they have been unable to send a rep, which is frustrating because it's now the end of November. This happened in May. Residents in that area were pretty upset. I promised them that I would get back to them. And so far I have been unable to keep that promise. I did get, if you look in the chat box, I put in there for everyone to see an email that Mo got and forwarded to me from Lee Nagano at HDOT, in which she wrote that HDOT has performed a topographical survey of the area and are looking at possible options, including additional drain inlets. As a short-term measure, we have requested cleaning of the swales in the area. Our plan is to advertise a repair in the,
Kim,
this is
can I
a
interrupt
technical.
you a bit? Is
Yeah.
there a DOT rep on screen there?
I don't see one.
Someone
Hey.
popped up with their video.
Aloha, Vice Chair. This is Ili here for Gov's team. I don't see anyone from DOT here. My apologies if this came up last month. When I was there, I couldn't find anything on this in my notes, but I can certainly
wasn't
flag DOT and try to get them to join us next month.
Well, that would be appreciated. It wasn't discussed last month, but I want the group to be aware of the email that we got from them, because she promised at the end that she would provide an update if she received information before the meeting that
Okay.
night.
Ms. Toomey,
So, yeah, I would
let me
like to
interrupt
have
you
an
here.
up-
I don't think we can address that tonight. I know our next meeting is not going to be officially until January. But I think we'll take your concerns and especially your note, pass around the board and put it on record here at the board meeting so that we can get it on record and let the governor's office take it and hopefully we should have someone here in January, correct? Mr. Governor's rep. Okay. All
Okay,
right.
is
Thank
that
you.
the best-
Thanks for the thumbs up.
Is that the best way to proceed as opposed to sending a letter or something from the board?
Well, if you send a letter from the board, I think it needs to be, it'd be offline here. I don't think we have, does anyone want to put what can we do here? Someone make a motion that we send your response. Do you have a response prepared or you have a motion to put before the board here?
No, if the governor's office can get them to come, I'm willing to wait for that. And if they don't show up, then we'll go to the next step.
Okay.
All right.
I think
Thank
that
you.
Sounds like a good plan there. Thank you. All right, let's move on to the next agenda item, Marine Corps Base Hawaii. Who's that? Wait. Yes. Yeah.
Hi, good evening, Chair, Neighborhood Board and Community.
Evening.
Christy Kalohiva, Marine Corps Base Hawaii. I'll have a couple of updates. Colonel Bevan is here with us tonight, as well as our new CPLO, old CPLO. She was our former CPLO who had 5 years in England and has now returned to us, Ms. Tiffany Patrick. She can come up and say a few words. Let me, just an update. Hokolea will be arriving at Mokaku this Saturday. And then she'll be traveling over to Mo'olo'e and then docking on December 7th in Haiti. And it would be wonderful if the board in your beautiful black shirts would be at Haiti in the afternoon after the Christmas parade. She should be arriving somewhere in between 3 and 5 o'clock, and I can get a closer time and relay that information to Mo, who can then share it with you folks, the specific time, but that would be awesome. This weekend, also, the Marine Corps base is very busy with a lot of community events. We're also hosting the Special Olympics. We anticipate approximately 1,000 participants. And then again, Makahiki, or we kind of were able to do that in conjunction with Hokolea arriving so that there could be multiple ceremonies. But enough with that. I will turn it over to Colonel Bevan, and then Tiffany Patrick will share a few words.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, my apologies. It's been a bit since I've been here. It just seems like I was off island on travel that coincided with your neighborhood board. So not intentional. I want to one, double down on the events that Christy mentioned before and make sure you all know that you are welcome out to Marine Corps Base wide to participate in any of those things. Please communicate with us through Christy so we can make sure we get you access, but also looking forward the events that we do with respect to commemoration events for the Clipper ceremony on December 7th. Some of those are the things that are coming up. By all means, we welcome you to your participation and attendance. Just let us know so we can prepare ahead of time for that. as well as just to kind of let you know that moving forward as we look ahead to the new year, obviously never too early to start looking at forward planning. And so if there's events on the horizon that you think we can be partners in, by all means, please let us know so we can participate where we can. Last thing, with respect to aircraft operations, as I've said in the past, when we do it right, I'll tell you. When we do it wrong, I'll also tell you. And so we had some events, I briefed the Kailua board a week or two ago, where we did have some B-22s that they were legal, they were safe, they had requested permission to do something that was a little non-standard. ATC approved it. It was with respect to flight path. What that did mean was they were flying over fish ponds, which is not something we normally do unless it's a safety of flight. We have too much traffic north of the airfield. And so we worked, I worked with my airfield CO, and he's rebriefing our tower chiefs. So the only time you should see aircraft operating over there is if we have to deconflict for safety of flight traffic. But in the spirit of just being an honest broker, I'll tell you when we do it wrong. That was one that was just not our normal habit pattern. Again, it was legal, it was safe. It was just something we try and keep aircraft further away from the shoreline when we can, just to be good neighbors. So thank you for your time. As always, good to be here and great to see you all again. Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Tiffany Patrick. I was the Community Plans and Liaison Officer for Marine Corps Base Hawaii from 2010 until 2019. And as Christy mentioned, I had a quick 5-year break over in England, but now I'm back home. I'm a Windward resident. I live over in Kailua, and I look forward to continuing to. That's all I have. Thank you.
So welcome home, and thank you, Commander, for coming to our board meeting. Are there any questions for the Marine Corps Base Hawaii? Mr. Sakamoto?
Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for coming. And I, as a Marine Corps Community Service 21-year retiree of the base, I appreciate all what the Marine Corps does. And hoorah, hoorah.
Any other questions? Mr. Akamine?
I've had a couple complaints from people in the shores, like, specifically with the craft that is sort of stealth. So when it flies overhead of you, you can't hear it. But because they're flying over basically a mistake, perfect, left there with the open, it will reflect off the ocean and send it out, kind of like an amphitheater. A lot of people kind of on the shoreline, they have built behind them. So what it does is turns everyone's house into this block. Is there any kind of way that share that might help with that situation? The reverberations inside of people's houses, I don't know, are they like converted? Is that something?
Yeah. Do you have a specific aircraft that you're referring to, or just generically?
Yeah, stealth. It's pretty.
So Osprey is a tilt rotor. It does make a fair amount of noise. It's not stealth. You generally know what's coming. We do have sometimes.
Can't hear it, so because it goes kind of far away, heard the sound.
No, so we the Marine Corps don't have any station here. Now, sometimes we do have aircraft, F-22s from across the island that come over and shoot approaches. We can certainly chat. I mean, my intent is obviously to minimize to the degree possible, noise. And so we can take a look at flight paths and things, and where they're flying. They shouldn't be overflying, the shoreline there. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Akamine, and cut you off here, but
Yeah, we can chat and see.
yeah, thank you, Colonel. Very much appreciate being here, and especially when it comes to noise concerns, and very much appreciate you explaining about the safety flying around the fish ponds. Thank you. No other further questions for Marine Corps Base Hawaii? Let's go on with agenda item number 4, board briefs and discussions. First item on agenda is sewer rate increases. Mr. Babcock from Department of Environmental Services.
Okay, thanks, Chair. Good evening, board members and community members. I'm Roger Babcock. I'm with the Department of Environmental Services. We take care of wastewater and refuse. Your three carts at your house, as well as take care of everything you flush down the toilet and use the water you use in your house. The sewer, so we have those two different operations. Refuse collection and everything that goes along with that is part of the general fund. So you're paying for that with your property taxes. But sewer, just like water, is a fee for service based operation. So the revenue that sewer fund has in order to run all the sewer operations comes from the sewer fees only. And so when costs go up for sewer fees, it's self-sustaining. So we need to raise the rates in order to match the expenses. So we are proposing a fee adjustment in the sewer fees beginning July 1st of this coming year. We are proposing a 10-year rate package, and I'll explain why that is in a minute. And there's a couple of things to note with respect to how the fees are calculated. So we're proposing to change the fee structure. What I mean by that is the fees are based on charges are based on a fixed charge and a volumetric charge. The fixed charge doesn't change each month. It's currently $77.55. That's how much you pay, even if you use no water at all. Then every 1,000 gallons of water that you use is charged a volumetric charge, just like the Board of Water Supply. In our case, it's $4.63 per 1,000 gallons. Before we charge you that, we knock off 20% and say, we're giving you a credit for irrigation. We assume that you use 20% your water, your water supply water for irrigation. If you use zero, you still get the 20% credit, et cetera. Okay, so it's just assumed. Okay, so what do? We take care of the wastewater. We collect, treat, and dispose of 100 million gallons of wastewater per day, citywide. So we do have the whole city, 780,000 customers. We have 2,100 miles of pipeline. We have 71 pump stations. We have 9 wastewater treatment plants, including one over here in Kailua, the regional plant, in Aikahi. All these things are operated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And we have a workforce to do wastewater is about 800 people. So the question is, why are our sewer fees going up? Well, their sewer fees have not gone up since July 1st of 2016. So by the time they go up again on this coming July, it will have been 9 years. And as you know, there's been some inflation during that time and costs have risen. So all of our costs have risen as well, including consumables like electricity and diesel fuel to labor and labor wages and other associated costs, as well as many, many other consumables, chemicals, and et cetera that we have to use. In addition, we have a very large capital program. And so the capital program is construction projects that we have to do to maintain and upgrade existing infrastructure, some of which is very, very old and needs to be replaced, and as well as preparing for regulation changes and additional treatment requirements that we have in our permits with the EPA and the State Department of Health. So those costs have gone up and we have a very large construction project. And one of them is shown on the front page of your thing that shows our capital program for the years 2025 through 2040, that 15-year period. Our capital program is 10.1 billion. So that's all of the work that we have to do. So we have that all planned out and ready to go. Those are all necessary projects and they are broken down into different types there. Program management, which is including equipment and support. We got trunk sewers, pump stations, treatment plants, force mains, gravity sewer rehabilitation. And then the big one there, big orange spike says consent decree. The consent decree was something that the city entered into in 2010. It's a legal settlement in federal court between the city, who was the defendant, and the litigants, which was the Department of Justice, the US EPA, the State Department of Health, and 3 nonprofit organizations. One of them is the Sierra Club. So they had all sued the city, and also there was a long list of exceedances and violations and fines that were settled by the consent decree. So the lawsuits were all dismissed, and all fines and everything was dismissed in exchange for coming to this legal agreement called the consent decree. Consent decree is 25 years in length, so from 2010 through 2035. It consisted of 3 components. One was collection system projects. There was 147 collection system projects specified in the consent decree that needed to be completed within 10 years, and that was completed. That was 2020. Second part was the upgrade of the Honouliuli wastewater treatment plant, which is in Eva Beach. That was due to be done in June of 2024. It was completed. We completed that project. So that's done. The third part is the upgrade of the Sand Island wastewater treatment plant. That is the last project, and it has to be done by the 2035. Because these projects were all large and the quantities of money were big, it was the 25 years were given to the city from the get-go in order to do these projects. So the idea was, the federal judge agreed, that's enough time, you should do it, you need to budget for it, it's a lot of money, but you got 25 years. So go on your way and we'll let you go. So that was what was agreed to. So we do need to finish that third project. Right now, we broke it up into 2 phases. Construction on phase 1 of the final of that big project started in 2022, and it will be finished in 2026. The start of the second phase of that final project is currently in design and needs to start construction in 2029. And then it will take from 2029 through 2035 to have it be operational and meet the deadlines. If you don't meet the deadlines, then you're in violation of the court order, and you start paying daily fines for being not in compliance. So that's our plan, is to do that. We have a plan. It's all in design. We will complete that project, but it does cost a lot of money. The upgrade of the Sand Island wastewater treatment plant is $2.5 billion. So it's about 25% of the total projects that we have over this time period. Okay, so getting on then to what the fees will be. So the fee increase that's needed. So what you do is you look at all those projects, operation and maintenance costs, inflation, and you add it all up and you get a revenue requirement. So the fees need to go up overall. It's an overall amount of 9% per year for 6 years in a row. 9%, and then 9% more, and then 9% more. And then for 6 years, and then 8, 7, 6, and 5 in the years out through 10. So we're talking about a 10-year package. It does go up 115%, but not on July 1st. It goes up 115% 10 years from now. Okay, and so you're going to feel 9% per year. And so the chart on the back there in green table shows what it is in actual dollars that you'll be paying for your bill. This is for a certain customer. So each customer uses a different amount of water, so they pay a different bill. And so what's shown there is the fixed charge, and those are, of course, monthly, right? We get a monthly sewer bill. It is current, which is $77.55. That's every month. And then you get a volumetric charge, which is for the 9,000 gallons minus 20% times $4.63 is $33.34. So right now, the average water user pays $110.89. That's current. And so that is going to go up. And the amount it goes up is shown there. And again, this is for a 9,000 gallons water user. So just so you know, 70% of single family residents use 9,000 gallons per month or less. Only 30% use more than that. The median, meaning half the people use less and half the people use more, is 6,000 gallons a month. So it's a lower bill for this. And there are some people who only use 2,000 gallons a month, et cetera. And some people use 20-something thousand gallons a month. So their bills are very different. But what you see there is that the fixed charge is not changing for the first 4 years of increases. It even goes down a little bit, okay, around $77, and it's even down to 74. But what goes up is the volumetric charge. So I want to explain why that is, and that's explained in the light bulb thing at the top of the next column. It says what is changing in the fee structure. So currently, if you look at the $77 and the $33, you see that about 70 to 75% bill currently is fixed charge. So what that means is even if you use zero water, you pay $77. Most of your bill is a fixed charge. It also means that if you were to cut back on your water use, you don't save very much. So again, it's $4.63 per thousand. So if you use 1,000 less gallons next month, you save $4.63. So what we want to do is switch that so that only about half the bill is the fixed charge and half then is volumetric. So what that means is it incentivizes water conservation as having actually a value proposition. Right now you can save water and it really doesn't help you very much. So by switching to 50/50, that has to do with equity and affordability. So it allows people to be able to have greater control over your bill. We had a stakeholder advisory group that has been meeting the last 6 months, and they were really keen on this idea. And it was, so that's how we got to that. And so that is why you see the fixed charge not going up for several years, because it's phased in the first 4 years, the fixed charge stays the same. The volumetric charge goes up, and then after that, the fixed charge starts to go up 9%, 8%, et cetera. And, you know, currently I mentioned it's $4.63. In the future, way out in year 10, it's about $18 per 1,000 gallons. So what that means is that by saving 1,000 gallons, which you could do, presumably, you save $18 instead of $4. So that's what that shift is about. The other thing that's on here that highlight is we do have we'll be instituting a customer assistance program, which we call CARES, and it will eligible folks who are have affordability issues will be eligible for a credit relief credit on their bill of between $20 and $25. And the proposed eligibility would be household income less than 80% of AMI, area median income. And that number though comes from the rental and utility relief program that the city ran post-COVID with the federal funds that came in to assist. So it's a very similar eligibility. So that is my presentation, and I hope it made sense. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you folks have. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Babcock. Questions? I got two here. Mr. Pytel and Mr. Sakamoto. Mr. Pytel, go ahead.
One thing that you did not mention is capacity. So, you know, you said you have 780,000 customers currently. And how much more capacity can the infrastructure take given all these changes that you're going to make?
Yeah, thanks. Good question. So right now, capacity of the system varies across the system. So we do have different sewer basins. Kaneohe Kailua is one basin, and there's a treatment plant here. Sand Island's obviously a different basin, Honolulu, et cetera, Waimanalo. So the capacity does vary by basin, but in terms of the treatment plants, we have capacity for all growth that's anticipated in at least the next 20 years. So the way we do planning is each basin has a facility plan. It's updated every 5 years. And as part of that, our consultants estimate growth and population growth during that time period and decide what the flow will be in that day. And then we build for 20 years in advance. So ongoing process. And so capacity is always there, at least in the whole. Now, within specific neighborhoods, there can be places where there are limitations in the sewers that need to be addressed. And that's a big part of our ongoing CIP program. And that is in that graph. And it would be in sewer trunk pump stations and force mains and gravity main rehabilitation, reconstruction, replacement. So that's an ongoing effort that we do, and it's all programmed in.
Thank you.
Mr. Sakamoto.
Yes, thank you, Director. I was earlier at the meeting at City Council, I think it was the Public Utilities and Infrastructure. Concerning your presentation at today's City Council, Chair Tommy Waters asked you a question about federal funding. And he asked if you folks have talked to the 4 congressional delegations. And in your response, you said, no, not yet. I would highly recommend that you talk to them. I know Managing Director Mike Forney used to work with DC, Washington, DC with Honorable as Congresswoman's Chief of Staff. But in May of 2024, this year, the Biden-Harris gave $41 million for grants for sewer grades and drainage. Just want to know if you applied for those grants. And you mentioned that there was like, the city receives what, federal grants of money for $55 million. And one more thing is your subsidy to subsidize for that CARES thing. Is it accessible for persons like myself who are blind on the website? I would like to work with you with that option because I have problems with certain city websites accessing it on my Talking Jaws software. But I think the main thing about what Chair Waters said to you was at the end of the meeting, please educate the public about the $300-something. It's very hard for people on low income or in these times of needs with the inflation.
But Sakamoto, I think Dr. Babcock has a lot to answer there.
Yeah.
Lynn will go and answer.
Thank you. But one last thing is you mentioned that you got it out on the newspapers and everything. Would be great if you put it in midweek also for outreach. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that suggestion. We do have well, maybe I'll start there with outreach. We have a series of 6 public town hall meetings. One is in Kāne, or Kailua actually, at the elementary school. The schedule for all those is online. That one is one of the last ones. It's in January. We had our first one on November 18th. Our next one is December 5th. And there's 2 other ones in December and then 2 in January. So we have a lot of community meetings. We've been to quite a few neighborhood boards now too. So but midweek is a good suggestion. So I'll take that. But we've been in the paper, a Star Advertiser. We were front page actually with the sewer fee increase in October when we did the announcement. And there's been some op-ed pieces and some other things in the paper. With respect to federal funding, I would mention that we do get federal funds to the program, and there's been a big increase since the federal funding for infrastructure came out. And so now we currently, in recent years, we've been getting, I guess, as I mentioned, about $55 million per year in federal funds, which is substantial. Just so you know, this fee increase in the first year generates about $20 million extra. And so, in comparison, that we're getting quite a bit of federal money. But we have not, of the grants that you just mentioned, we have not applied for that, but we do apply for other money, as I said, and we get money every year from the EPA through the State Department of Health. With respect to applying for the CARES program, we're probably going to run it like the rental and utility relief program. We have money program to hire a contractor. We suspect that there'll be at least a couple of applicants, bidders, and they're probably the same 2 that did that RURP program, which was Catholic Charities and CNHA. So probably one of them would be selected. And then what they do is they go out into the community and they do outreach and they help people fill out the forms and they submit them. And then they do the verification. So the department doesn't have capacity to do that. So we already have a money in the budget to contract, for that service to essentially manage that program and determine who gets a credit for us. And then we will apply the credits. And I think, so I don't think it'll be an online thing, but I'm not sure. And so, yeah, hopefully that answered all the questions.
Great, thank you. I think Mr. Downing still have your hand up.
Yes, thank you for coming, but I'm sorry, but I missed the threshold to be a participant income-wise in the CARES program. What was that amount?
Yeah, it's proposed to be 80% of area median income. So less than 80% of the area median income for the household. So for the address that the bill goes to, you would apply and you'd have to show your income and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I do have just kind of a burning question here because the consent decree is a large part of that increase. Is that because of a upgrade in the standards or in that time frame in 2010, or was that some infrastructure kind of catch up from before? Because we recently did Aikahi, right? Was that part of the consent decree? It sounds like what when you mentioned was Honolulu and Sand Island, which are all town side.
Right.
So is that a little disparity of how we're paying for that, or Aikahi was part of that settlement?
Yeah, thank you. So the settlement, the consent decree involved the collection system. So there had been a prior consent decree from 1995 that involved the collection system and sewer spills. So there was a lot of spills because pipes were old and breaking and things like that. So that was what the initial lawsuit and consent decree. The city was not keeping up with their commitments to that consent decree. Then there was a series of other sort of violations and things that were happening at really Sand Island and Honolulu. They had, so the Clean Water Act was 1972. It said in that law that all the minimum treatment across the land is secondary. And many cities resisted for a number of years, and Honolulu resisted for a really long time. We weren't the only ones. Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego, a lot of East Coast cities resisted for a long time. Eventually, they all decided to upgrade to secondary treatment. The city did not decide to do that for those two treatment plants. And they fought the rule for many years, up and until 2010, when they had to settle all the lawsuits and agree, okay, we will reach this national standard. It's in federal law that everybody has to meet, that standard. And so now we just have one treatment plant left that needs to get up to that standard. We do a lot of work at the Aikahi plant. We have multiple projects going there now and more coming to do upgrades essentially, to that plant because it is old as well. And there's already been a lot of work done there too with the tunnel and all that stuff. And all that stuff is great. But we do have to do the Sand Island plant.
Well, thank you very much.
Hey, one quick question.
One more question?
Yeah.
Okay, go
quick
ahead.
one. Well, thanks. First off, explaining all this helps me to understand what's going on with sewer bill because I never really do. So that's helpful. Thank you. I guess it's just a quick one. I guess well, this is for sewer, and I'm glad to hear that we have capacity for future developments and however we move forward into the future. Is it fair to say that we could still have other fee increases due to the water side of the house? Yeah. As especially with Red Hill going on. And it's just, we don't know right now. I'm just calling that out. This is really specific to sewer improvement. That's all.
Correct. This is for sewer. So the Board of Water Supply does the water bill. And currently they're on the same, they're on the same piece of paper that you get. The left side's water, right side's sewer. And some people do have confusion sometimes about that. And they call the Board of Water Supply about their sewer bill. And then they tell them to call us. But yeah, this is just for sewer. The Board of Water Supply did pass a rate increase at the end of last year. The first rate increase was 10% on January 1 of this year. Their second increase is another 10% on July 1st of this year. And then there are 4 more over the next 4 years as part of their program. They're smaller, 8, 7, 6, something like that is what it is. And that is all online on their webpage. So water charges are going up. The water charges are smaller than the sewer bill by a lot. So yeah, but that information is available. So the costs are going up there.
Yeah, thanks. When it showed how my lack of understanding with the sewer bill. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Babcock. Much appreciated. So Let's go on to the next agenda item.
Thank you very much.
Brief by Colin Lee on Climate Change and Resiliency Collaborative.
Aloha, board members. Thank you for having me. My name is Colin Lee. I'm here from the University of Hawaii Climate Resilience Collaborative. It's a research group directed by Dr. Chip Fletcher, who's the Dean of the School of Ocean and Earth Science and Technology. I'm here to talk to you tonight about a project that we are doing in collaboration with Marine Corps Base Hawaii and the City and County's Office of Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resilience, and then also have a couple of subcontractors on it. A little background on myself. I grew up just down the road in Kailua. Spent a lot of time coming and watching movies here at North Mall. Also to Christy and the rest of the team at Marine Corps Base for helping to arrange this quick presentation. So the project, also I'm an attorney by training, but the research group that I work with is collaborative of over 20 hard scientists, mostly focusing on modeling the impacts of climate change, particularly those driven by sea level rise. So that's things like passive flooding, coastal erosion, highway runout, groundwater inundation, and then also other climate-related factors like heat and wildfire emission things like land use. So the project I'm here tonight to talk to you about is called the Ko'olapoko Resilience Review. This is the fourth neighborhood board that I've presented at, just how the timing works with the neighborhood board schedules. I presented also at Kailua, Waimanalo, and Kahalu. A couple of years ago now, we were awarded this grant through the City and County's Office of Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resilience in partnership with the Marine Corps Base from the Department of Defense. And the Department of Defense has several sub-agencies. This one is called the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation, or OLDCC. It was formerly referred to as Office of Economic Adjustment, OEA, was rebranded. But one of the granting opportunities that they give out is called installation resilience, which money that it offers to state and local governments or other institutions that these institutions can use to help increase the resilience of defense communities adjacent to defense facilities. So in this case, Marine Corps Base Hawaii nominated itself a few years ago, and the community adjacent to it that we chose to focus on is Ko'olapoko, which in our study ranges from Makapu to Kualoa Point. And actually at the state and county level, there's differences. This is like one of the first questions. There's differences between where the boundary between the two mokus are, Pomona and Ko'olapoko. Funny little thing. So with this money, we are funding our team of scientists and some of our subcontractors to do these improved modeling methods to look at all of these climate impacts in Ko'olapoko, with the ultimate goal of determining what areas are at risk, or specifically what infrastructure is at risk. So working with our subcontractors, we've gotten everything that's publicly available, because a lot of it is not for security reasons, but things like water, potable water, sewer, as the gentleman was just talking about, electricity, emergency infrastructure, which includes roads, hospitals, healthcare facilities. All of these things are at somewhat of risk, especially in the case of a natural disaster, or just these long-term climate stressors that we're going to start or continue to experience. They're going to get worse. So it was nice enough to offer. So the reason I'm here presenting to you folks tonight is because we are at the point in our project where we're trying to get some feedback from the community, from folks who live in Ko'olapoko, on whether or not the modeling and methodology projected at same conflict increments of sea level rise tracks matches with the lived experience in Kāne and elsewhere in Ko'olapoko. So I have a flyer here in my hand, and I think it was shared with the neighborhood board as well. And I copies as well, but I'll leave here on the table. On the flyer, it'll have a brief description of the project as I just discussed it. And you'll also notice two QR codes with their associated URLs. With these, one of them takes you to our, it's called the SOAS Climate Viewer. It's currently hosted on our website at the University of Hawaii, but it shows on the right-hand side a variety of different types of climate exposures, the ones that I was talking about. So passive flooding, highway runout, coastal erosion, and groundwater inundation. And groundwater inundation would have shallow and emergent groundwater, and then like a deeper layer stuff like that. And then on the left-hand side, you have two different sea level rise scenarios, but all at 1 foot sea level rise increments for the projection. So you essentially would say, let's look at wherever, and I wonder what this area that could look like with 1 or 2 feet of sea level rise. And the two different sea level rise scenarios come from an interagency study done by NASA and NOAA a couple years ago. They gave 5 sea level rise scenarios based on a variety of factors that influence global sea level rise, but they did it for almost every major tide gauge in the United States. So here in Hawaii, we expect to experience 16 to 20% greater sea level rise than the average for the globe. That's due to a variety of factors. To briefly touch on it, the primary drivers of sea level rise are ice sheet melt, which we hear about all the time in the news, and the thermal expansion of the ocean. Another really important factor here in Hawaii is actually land seepage, or I mean, essentially, we all know, the hotspot is moving under the Pacific Plate, or the Pacific Plate is moving over the hotspot. The islands that are more north to the northwest are older and over the course of millions of years decaying, but slowly the island is moving downwards, and that does have an impact at the relative scale for sea level rise on the order of millimeters per year, but it is another important factor to consider. And Kāne is especially important because, as we know, there's a huge area right around the bay that's really close to water level already, and a lot of the properties from Kula down are not into the sewer facilities. They have septic tanks, which is another piece of infrastructure that we've modeled here. And just yesterday, actually, there was an article in Civil Beat about how much of an impact nearshore cesspools and septic tanks are having on water quality. I think a lot of that has something to do with that. There's a groundwater advisory right now in Kailua, not due to septic tanks, but for cesspools. But that is a really important factor for our day-to-day lives. I'll try and speed this up a little bit. Just to think about why this is really important is, moving forward, some of our goals with this project are just to identify really crucial areas that are going to be hotspots for climate impacts, but also the infrastructure that we depend on our day-to-day lives, but also in the case or in the event of an emergency. And we're hoping to identify possible pilot projects that could be used to mitigate some of these impacts. And, ultimately, the research can be used to apply to other streams of funding mechanisms to pay for these improvement projects, which, ultimately will be required. And in the short term, for the things that are already going on, we're hoping that this research can be used to inform how projects that are ongoing or currently being planned are being considered. Because, the last thing that we want is, say, a sewer main to be rebuilt or continuously patched in a particular area, blocking everybody's traffic for, months, if not years on end, only to have that water table be, as sea level rises, it's hydrologically connected to the ocean, and our research has shown that it's almost 100%, or it has the same salinity as the ocean, and you can literally read the tides in it. And a lot of this buried infrastructure was not developed with dealing with saltwater intrusion and saltwater erosion, and that leads to a lot of detrimental impacts on this buried infrastructure, and even on the roads themselves. When we have heavy saturation after rains, which Kāne rain a lot, and the water can't penetrate down into the ground, and then you have the layer of sea level rise on top of that, pushes that groundwater table up near the coast. You're going to get continuous flooding in the roads, which is the same thing. They're designed to withstand pressure from above and not from below. You're going to get a lot of issues. And we've seen it in a variety of places, like random sinkhole or that kind of stuff. But I've been speaking a lot. I would love to take some questions. So I didn't mention, but the second QR code is to a Google form. The Google form essentially asks those questions that I was mentioning. Does this track your lived experience in Kāne or Poco broadly? Do you have any ways that we can improve it? Essentially, there's even an option to include some photos and stuff if you wanted, flooding, say. I mean, what I imagine that the best way to think about this is, you look at our projections and you say, oh, that's interesting. I've never seen a flood there, but they're showing that it's flooding, or even when it rained the heaviest it rained, it did not flood there at all, or clear from standing water, or just the opposite. It's always flooding here. For some reason, the projections don't show that it's wet with sea level rise, or we also model compound rain events. So like coronal lows when they come through, or just heavy rainstorms. And any other real thoughts that you guys have be really beneficial for our analysis.
Okay, questions from board members? Got one? Okay, Mr. Sakamoto, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I did hear your presentation at Kalu, neighborhood board 29, the 13th. But my concern was, I brought up was at the meeting with the climate change as the water pushes inland and it goes into our water ducts, fresh water. It can contaminate our fresh water. So I'm very concerned about that because Solomon Islands are having problems in that area. But I hope we can all come together and have a better plan to address this problem because it's a big thing. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And that brings up a couple of really important problems that we're going to start seeing more in our communities. All of our drainage infrastructure is reliant on gravity. So, in Waikiki, we see the solid ground, it rains heavy. The Alawai is at the same water level, if not higher than storm drainage. So you have water coming back up through the storm drains. And that's going to start happening elsewhere. But, if all of our gravity reliant drainage systems are projected to be at water level, it's not going to be functioning in the event of a rain, let alone at all. So that's an example of something we're trying to identify. As a part of our modeling, we actually also identified when there is a storm drain failure or a manhole cover is at sea level, at a projected sea level. And what that means, we also model when a road is impassable based on national standards, which is 6 inches of standing water for a smaller passenger vehicle and 24 inches for an emergency vehicle. So what that translates to is where is going to be impassable if there's 1 foot sea level rise and again 12 inches of rain. That's crucial for an ambulance to be improved. To touch on the other thing, Lo'i and Church Home and follow farming is really important in the Bay Area. And what he was talking about, saltwater intrusion into groundwater is an enormous issue for that. But it would ruin the viability of a lot of traditional farming methods. But that is also integrated into research.
Okay, any other board members? Mr. Akamine, you have a quick question there?
So my background is in some of the things that you're addressed, which don't all the time, like that. A lot of times when salt inundation occurs, it basically fills off the vegetation up there that hopefully wants to go ahead and turns it into kind of a fire. So like most prevalent around the fish pond there. When they took out all the mackerel that was technically endangered species by the U.S. National Park. But we had to go through a bunch of loopholes and
fields to be able to cut that type of down. Like these marshes and dead zones that we get over that were used as finished farming. What can be done to remediate saltwater accumulation? Cave like a foundation and set it up where you create like a fish pond or what be on top of that. And kind of protect that area from field.
Is that a question you can answer?
Would be able to change the laws.
Okay, Mr. Akemi, I think his brief was about getting feedback from the community, so I'll cut you off there because I have some comments myself. And I think he's got 2 QR codes where he can provide this feedback to them. He's collecting information.
There's one of my classmates, Jason Sean.
So one of the things that we're discussing around is how to increase the amount of warm areas that you have. If quite some bad sun.
Right, that sounds like good feedback for the QR codes, right? And I do have some that I'd like to send to you, but is your contact information on these QR codes too, or can we email you directly?
It's directly in the very bottom. It's just
Okay.
CRC info as apps that's what that we do.
Okay.
I have my own personal email, but I monitor this every day, so I can get back to you. Yeah, we're looking for any and all feedback, general feedback, specific feedback. You know, I grew up here, my family's living here, I want this to be still way figure out.
Okay, thank you. And I'll reiterate, please do send feedback because I don't think they get a lot, and every bit counts and it helps to formulate your reports and your studies, right?
That's exactly right. And thank you guys so much for having me tonight.
Thank you. Okay, next on the item on agenda, I believe is resident community concerns, 3 minutes each. Are they resident and community concerns? We do have one item on here about unpermitted businesses operating in residential areas. That person here.
I'll speak to that.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Patel.
Yeah, that's relative to the party house on Lilipuna, which it's actually my neighborhood. And good news is that the owners of the house have been out of town and are laying low at the moment. So there's been no parties. And actually, they have received, we're told, a cease and desist letter about taking people out to the sandbar, unpermitted boat out to the sandbar. So they have been given a cease and desist letter about that. But we still have no feedback from DPP. So that's a question to our council member. And that's all we have to report.
Okay, I guess we get that to our council members' time or the mayor's time. We can address that. Any others with residents and community concerns? Okay, if not, then let's go with elected officials, beginning with U.S. Representative Jill Takuda's question and answer time. Is there a representative online or in person? Okay, I do not see, but there is a question here on the agenda to CD2. What legislation are you planning to introduce to benefit CD2? And most importantly, what is your strategy for developing alliances with a Republican majority in the House of Representatives? And we'll put that on record as a question asked for the representative's time. Next is Governor Green's representative. Go ahead, I see you online.
Aloha nui kako. Ilihia Johnson from the Hawaii Tourism Authority, but here tonight on behalf of the Green Administration. Aloha to you all. Wish I could be there in person, but schedule didn't allow for that. I have a couple of updates from topics brought up at the last meeting, last month when I was there with you folks. So I did pass along everyone's questions and requests and suggestions to the appropriate departments, including asking the Department of Transportation to patch potholes at the Likelike and Kamehameha intersection before the Christmas parade for you, Vice Chair. as well as a gentleman from the audience suggesting making a longer turn lane from Kamehameha onto the Pali. So relayed those to the Department of Transportation. No updates yet on action on those. One update on the road work from them: the H3 Halava bound closure that was scheduled for tomorrow night has been canceled. And other than that, unfortunately, they put out the new roadwork schedules on Fridays. We meet on Thursdays, so I don't have the upcoming week, but it is available on their website. Two other quick ones about He'eia State Park, about not being able to reserve space right now. I checked in today one more time, hoping for some news. There has still been no permit awarded to take over when Kama'aina Kids concludes their arrangement there. If there are any organizations who would like to explore the possibility of managing the park, please go ahead and call State Parks. But there's no permit awarded right now, and the Division of State Parks is working on some alternative things to get those reservations open up again, understanding that graduation party season is coming up and there's always a lot of healthy community demand to be in that beautiful space. And then final update from last time, Antiraki Kaluhiva had a suggestion that parking meters at the Capitol should run for longer than 2 hours, given the nature of hearings at the Capitol. Good news, that is being changed to 4 hours. Right now, the Department of Accounting and General Services is working with the vendor who operates the kiosk where you pay for parking to make that adjustment to 4 hours, and that should be good to go in time for legislative session. Beyond that, I do have in my notes to ensure that we have a Department of Transportation rep at the next meeting, which, did I hear correctly that that'll be January, not December, to discuss the H3 flooding issue. And other than that, that's my report. Mahalo nui.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. That's correct. Our next full meeting is January, and we will have a abbreviated meeting in December. Before we get on to questions, Mr. Pleitel, does that answer your agenda item?
Yes, just one thing. I just wanted to ask if there was any discussion, since it's totally up in the air, why Kama'aina Kids is not being considered, or have they just decided that they want no part of the state park? And also there was some discussion about trying to bring back sanctioned, if you will, kayak rentals for Hawaii tourism. So any update on either of those, and what's with Kama'aina Kids?
That was not a part of the information that I was able to get from DLNR, unfortunately, but for whatever reason, their permit is coming to an end.
Thanks.
Right. Thank you.
No
Any other
problem.
questions
And
for Mr.
before I
Johnson?
give up the mic,
Okay.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just asking for any other questions, but if not, go ahead and close. Go ahead.
If not, just wanted to say, happy Thanksgiving to you all, and to the board members and all the super engaged citizens here. Mahalo nui for all that you do for your community.
Thank you. Happy
Thank you.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, next up on the agenda is the mayor's rep. Mr. Kawano.
Chair Lamb, good evening. Andy Kawano, Director of Budget and Fiscal Services, for the record. First thing I wanted to cover is that the mayor's newsletter is posted at the city's website. And I'm not going to go through the newsletter based on time, but you can access it at www.8.honolulu.gov/mayor/newsletter. Today, during the special budget meeting, I wanted to share that we reviewed, after several series and drafts, Bill 59 that is a measure to incentivize the development of movie studios on Oahu. There is state activity with regard to negotiating with a developer to build the movie studio next to the creative media school at UH West Oahu. And they're proceeding with negotiations. This Bill 59 will help to drive closure and hopefully help secure development of the studio over the next 5 to 6 years. The studio will be built on land that would be leased by the state to a third-party developer. When the lease is executed, the property would be subject to real property taxes. So currently, there's no taxes being collected. The bill is written such that the city would benefit in terms of real property tax revenues on the land portion and the portion of the land where facilities are built for the general public. The part of the land that's used to build the movie studio for pre-production, production, and post-production of film media will not be subject to real property tax. There'll be a full exemption against the assessed value for that part of the land where the movie studio is built specific and solely for movie and film production. So that's the benefit there, along with all of the other film credits that the developer will receive from the state. So that's moving along. It got approved through special budget committee today, and we'll go for third and final reading in December. So we hope that bill passes. It will expand the current limited amount of facilities we have now for production, and the hope is it'll allow students from throughout our island who are interested in filmmaking and all of the other services that go with it to stay at home and actually work here to film movies and other types of telecasts. So we think it's a good thing for the island. And what we were told by the Honolulu Film Studio is that we found out that the film industry was recession-proof during the COVID shutdown. Filming continued in the limited studio space that we have now. So building something more along the lines of world-class studio facilities will be good for this island and good for our economy. On some of the things that happened and was discussed last meeting that needed to follow up on, wanted to share that I think one of the big issues that I mentioned that I researched for this meeting was the data breach. There was discussion on it today during the Public Infrastructure and Technology Committee meeting this afternoon at City Hall. The question that was raised was if OTS, Oahu Transit Services, lost any money. And we did the research and found out that on a transactional basis, that we're going to pay as they traveled. They didn't have a monthly pass. Monthly passes were not impacted, but the buses couldn't collect monies during the breach. And the estimated lost revenues during the time the collection system was down was about $300,000. I think it was mentioned 380, but it was pretty close. The number was actually closer to $300,000. And that's essentially transactional pay-as-you-go type collections for bus service. The cross lights, this is a big one because it's been going on for years. The Pahia Road intersection light replacement. We circled back with DTS again at the city, and the current target now is to start in the latter part of 25 and complete the installation of the flashing beacon installation for the crosswalk on Pahia in early 2026. My understanding is that the road resurfacing that's going to start first quarter in 2025 has to happen first, and they have to put down new wiring underground before for the stoplights and all of that. And that has to be done before the crosswalk beacon can be put in place. So that's scheduled. The other item that came up was road surfacing at Paleka Road. We found out that that work has to be a complete road rehabilitation, where the entire road is stripped down to the base and replaced and reconstructed. And unfortunately, DDC doesn't have it on its project schedule yet. So if the board could please, express your concerns and urge to get the project at least on the planning schedule, so that we can get it going. Because we have road rehabilitation budget dollars in CIP every year, and it's important to get all of these important road rehab jobs scheduled. And I can say right now, it's not scheduled. So if we can get your help to do that, that'll be great. And I believe those were the main things that I needed to follow up on. I'll be waiting here for questions, if any.
Thank you for your report. Thank you for the suggestions on Paleka Road too, and report back. There is one item on here requesting update on stormwater utility deadlines and any decisions made to enact. Is that something that you're able to answer?
With everything going on, my understanding is with regard to stormwater utility, because implementing such a utility will have to result in an additional fee to pay for the utility. We've decided to defer it and focus on getting the scheduled increases for sewer water started first, because that's under consent decree. So we want to get sewer water moving first, and we're gonna then do the public outreach and schedule stormwater at a later time. So stormwater is going to be deferred.
Is that going to be publicly known?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
before the end of the year? Because I believe it was looking at February that it would be implemented of next year.
It's not going to happen in February. Yeah.
So will the public be known, whether it's a public service announcement, newspaper, et cetera?
Okay, I will check to see if facilities management has something scheduled for public communication, and we'll get that out.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the board members to Mr. Kawano?
I just wanted to say thank you, Andy, for announcing that, because that has been a great concern for the last couple of years about this upcoming fee that's going to impact not only us as owners of our own property, but other retail areas would have to raise their prices in order to accommodate that. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sakamoto?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Andy, for your presentation. Regarding the cyber tech, I was at the meeting today, and I mentioned the $300,000 to the council members, but how do we get that money back? Or is it, if you find the culprits to it, can we go after them for that money, or always that shortfall? How are we going to get it back?
Yeah, to my knowledge, I'm not aware of what kind of investigative work they're doing, from OTS's standpoint. And I can check and report on that next time. But, essentially what happened is these are people that jumped on the bus, system was down. It was an OTS, confined to OTS, and they just didn't collect. They weren't able to collect. Or if they were going to use their Polo card and swipe it, they weren't able to do that. So, it's essentially public customers that use the bus on a regular basis that did not pay, where OTS did not collect revenues. The monthly plans that were collected were not impacted. So the monthly passes were not impacted.
Well, I can speak for the hand event, because I write that they pay because if the system's down, they still have to pay cash or ticket. So, yeah.
Mr. Carsonson?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Andy, thank you very much for the presentation. The question I have is regarding the failure of the 911 system being down again. I believe this is the third time this year that we've incurred this unfortunate situation. Is there any update or any recommendations that can be made from the mayor's office on improving this?
I think currently they're doing a internal review of what happened. That operation doesn't fall under BFS. You know, it's under a public safety department, and they are reviewing it, and they're assessing from, you know, in terms, you always look at the systems, you look at process, you look at staffing, and they're reviewing 3 areas. And I think this is going to be on, and I can tell you that the mayor is on top of it, and they're working on finding, you know, solutions to that problem.
Okay, so a quick question, Mr. Akmini? Yeah, come to the microphone.
So I found a number of streetlights as well as traffic signals that made it my jurisdiction or DOT highways. But there's one specifically in front of Taco Bell right outside that park. Equal pole number 562606. I called it into Hawaiian Electric because it's a conduit coming down off of high voltage. I didn't ascertain whether it was low voltage or not, or what level it is. It looked like a double lot conductor, so it's got to contribute load carrying. Probably feeds the string of lights on Camp Highway. But it's a bare conductor. It looked like someone kind of peeled off the insulation or cut it, and then wire wrapped some stuff to it with what can I say? Not sure if someone set up a convenient outlet right there, but it's been happening to a lot of different streetlights and a lot of different signals. That's kind of why DTS is also switching over to fiber optic, because that way it's, cut it open, just destroy the line. They also have cameras and stuff that they're going to hook up to this. Maybe that can help enforcement.
Okay, thanks. Have you tried Honolulu 311? I've used that a couple of times. It gets the database, and I know I've had a storm drain that's been bent for 15 years, and I finally put it on 311. They took care of it within a month. So I think thanks for going out there and documenting these things. I think anyone who else has seen these, just go on. If you put it on the database, I think Mr. Kawano can actually track these things for you guys.
It looked like they hooked up something pretty deep into it.
Right. So put it in documentation, the database, and I think that's easier for them to track or Mr. Kawano to follow up with it. And you can also upload pictures with it too. Yeah, it's right here. Honolulu 311. Someone will reply.
Hashtag whoever's,
Okay.
job it's supposed to be.
Right, thanks. Mr.
About the 911. So I noticed earlier that week or day that Hawaiian Electric did the PSPS shut off for parts of the island. That might be kicking the civil defense stuff into thinking that we're under attack by terrorists. Because if a lot of different places start losing power and not consistently walk by, then it might just shut it down instead of create a panic.
That's a good question. I think that's one of my concerns about, what is an indicator for if we're being tested on different systems on ourselves. But Mr. Kawano, any response for that?
Chair Lamb, no response. I'll just note it and bring it back
All right.
to Mayor and his team.
Thank you. Okay. Auntie Rocky,
I hope the governor's rep is still there, but also the DLNR state building needs to be fixed also. But we're talking facility here with the mayor's rep. I want to talk about a previous mayor, when the previous mayor took away the parking facilities between the Department of Land and Natural Resources and the City Hall. And that is why we used to go to the hearings all the time at City Hall, but there's no parking. Parking is so far. They don't have handicap. They have one handicap parking. And I think to me, it was Okole backwards. And as a Nakamauli, they put the parking into Iolani Palace, the only palace in the whole United States. The parking is overloaded at the palace. What's wrong with that picture? Because you want to see the green grass between the Department of Land and Natural Resources and City Hall. I think they should put the parking facilities back between the Department of Land and Natural Resources and City Hall and give us back more greenery on our Iolani Palace and show more respect to that. And anyway, a lot of the public workers themselves, my friend works at one of the state buildings. She gets tickets all the time because they don't have parking either. So, I think our governor and our mayor should work together because we the people, it doesn't matter city, state, Democrat, Republican, we the people, we need these facilities. Mahalo.
Right. Mr. Kwan, is that something you address or?
I would agree that there's not enough parking near Honolulu Hale to go to council meetings. So we'll talk about it, especially for people that are challenged, in terms of mobility and transportation. So we'll look into that.
Right, thank you very much. I think we're going to move on here. We got a couple more items on the agenda. Let's move on to Councilmember Esther Kiana.
Good evening, everyone. This week is the last committee week for the City Council for the year, with our final full council meeting slated for a Wednesday, December 11th at 10 a.m. Director Quano updated you on a very important measure regarding the film industry. Other two noteworthy items that I think would be of interest to you, and Jaron will put the various links in the chat box if you need to follow up, and also, and if you don't get it, you can contact my office. One, of course, is Bill 46 relating to the empty homes tax. There's a bill that I voted against today. Regrettably, it passed 2 yeses, 1 reservation, and 2 noes. I do know Chair Waters put a lot of time into it to address the concerns by a lot of local families who may be impacted by this. And I felt that the Ernst & Young, the firm that has been contracted by Budget and Fiscal Services to conduct an assessment of the issue, should be allowed to complete it. I also asked today that due to the exemptions, there's so many exemptions that if someone were to assess it, it might defeat the whole purpose of the intent of the bill. And I felt that there were other avenues, like updating the residential aid category, or and incentivizing long-term homeowners to rent long-terms to achieve the objectives of raising revenue and increasing affordable housing.
Excuse me, could I interrupt you? Could you take your conversation outside? Thank you.
The other issue, of course, is Bill 64 relating to land use ordinance. We had our final hearing today. It is moving for final passage. Jaron will put the link for our website in it if anybody has any questions. The more exciting presentation today was from DPP before my Committee on Planning and the Economy. As you know, not just the administration, but the City Council and myself have been deeply concerned about the backlog at DPP. And so we were astounded because we've had periodic updates, but nothing of this magnitude. So just to give you an example for residential code review times, in 2022, November, it took an average of 330 days for a residential permit. It is now down to 11 days. With regard to commercial permits, in 2022, November, it was 420 days. It is down to 63 days. Of note as well is a lot of people, I get contacted all the time, where's my permit? Again, if you look in the chat box, we have the PowerPoint that they presented today. People will be astounded to find out that 75% of the 75% of the time, the permit is actually back with the applicant. And most of the time they have no knowledge of it because it's either the architecture or the agent. And they've been waiting months, years, and not realizing that they had it within their control. To address that transparency, the department, of course, have e-plans. They have upgraded their system. Jaren is going to put the PowerPoint as well as the e-plans link. Applicants are going to be able to go on and find the project status for now until they make improvements. If you want to be notified in addition to your agent, you have to manually go into the system, but eventually over time, it's going to be automatic. So you can't say you didn't know because all you got to do is go on. So I just wanted to update you on that. And then Mr. Sakamoto on Kāne Street pedestrian bridge. You talked about condition of the bridge. So we did contact Department of Facility Maintenance. They've inspected the area and they plan to make repairs when the resources become available. I did want to talk about Laura's questions regarding Tupeleko Road and Waikalua Road. Director Puano talked about the long-term fix. The Department of Facility Maintenance said that in the short term, they have put in a work order to conduct a short-term fix with regard to pothole patching in the area. So just thank you for bringing that to my attention. And lastly, with regard to community concerns, with regard to unpermitted construction and business activities, including 46-133 Lilipuna Road, as well as 45-031 Lilipuna Place. I know it is top of mind and of the department and myself, but I am meeting with them now that I have a little extra time to breathe. I will be meeting with them on those two issues. It's top of mind. And I do know that there are other members who have been concerned that I seem to care about these projects and not the project relating to Hinamauka. The facility that is being built, not being built, but is in the planning stages. And I just wanted to make clear to everyone that that is not the case. I am looking into it. The difference is something that is illegal and something that is legal, but we may not like the fact that in this case, we don't have any discretion over it because when you have a facility that is 8 or more, then it has to go to DPP, and when it's 8 and under, you don't. I am working with DPP to get an update, and I commit that the next time, hopefully I'll get more information so I could be more specific. And that's my report.
Great. Thank you very much. Any questions from the board? Is that Mr. Sakamoto? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Council Member Cayeno. Thank you for voting no on 46. Today I was there at the meeting. It was a long meeting today, yes. And then thank you for voting no for Bill 59, which is the bottle, a plastic bottle. You, your chair did put in verbiage for the blind vendors to be excluded from having to endure the bottle ban on that. So appreciate it. And thank you for the Kāne Street Bridge. I think it's way overdue. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Whitehall?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you also for your efforts about 46-133. There's a whole bunch of concerned citizens who are counting on you to do something.
Absolutely. That is unacceptable. And, you know, there are formal processes and there's community processes. So I'm confident that collectively you also will make sure that your voices are heard.
Thank you. And you've seen Pearl's video of the fire dance, et cetera. So you know how bad it is. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you so much. Also, I appreciate you listening to us on Bill 46 and your vote on that.
I believe the city council vote is going to be very, very close. And so if people are interested, you already know where I stand. You need to let your voices be heard at the city council. You know, there's always good intentions in everything, but certain times the inadvertent implications in this case, for me, is pronounced. And you cannot take that risk, because if you're saying you're helping local families, then just based on the data that I'm getting, the majority of people who are going to be impacted, whether with, you know, even without the exemptions, if they don't have the exemptions, are local families. And so for me, it defeats the purpose of what you're trying to achieve. What are you trying to achieve? You're trying to create more housing for people and maybe raise some revenues. There are other ways to do that. And, you know, I just need everybody to stay the course and also let your voices be heard. Again, December 10th is the full council and the last time to make comments on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's next item on agenda, Senator Jerry Yoakalili.
Vice Chair, members of the board, everybody watching, aloha. I'll start with a quick response to Neil's question about Kāne kids, because I think it was, what I thought I heard from you was whether, was the question about whether Kāne kids is being allowed to continue the kayak operation. And so the answer to that is that the contract that Kāne kids originally entered into with the State Department of Land and Natural Resources to operate the park, Heia State Park, allowed them to utilize the beach area. They used it to establish those commercial rentals, but according to the Kaneohe Master Plan, they were not allowed to conduct commercial tour operations on the water. So there was a loophole that Kāne kids had been utilizing to allow that operation. They were asked to stop, and basically fast forward, they've now elected to discontinue their operation of the park. I haven't spoken with them, but this is Auntie Rocky. I can talk to you about it for hours. This has been an issue that has been sort of smoldering as long as I've been in office. So now the State Parks Department has reopened their request for a private operator to come and take over the lease for the park. I know that there are different opinions about whether that arrangement should continue. My personal concern about Heia State Park is that because you have a community facility and community and essentially commercial infrastructure, that hall and the parking lot and all of that, the overhead for the park site is significant, and it's far more than most regular park infrastructure. And so my actual long-term concern is that the fact that Kāne Kids is gone now that they're no longer allowed to rent out those kayaks is an indication that the viability of the park is not sustainable, and that we're going to eventually be asked to come in and provide more continued permanent funding to keep the facilities intact, which the state was not good at doing prior to the contract. So that's a long answer to a longer conversation, but I'll just
If I might just ask a question, because I had to have a conversation with one of the board members of Kāne Kids today, and she was actually, you know, it's the kayaks are an issue, but she was sort of concerned because there was a lot of educational value being brought to the table, and so I was really asking if we don't have a vendor, have they actually been excluded, or why don't we just re-up them for 6 months and what to do? The kayaks are another.
Sure.
You know, that's why tourism, yeah, it's a whole mess with the bay and illegal kayak rentals and all of that. That's a separate issue.
I can go check on that. For my report, I did want to announce some good news. Today, if you recall, we've had many conversations over the last 2 years about the Department of Agriculture and their inability to take action against the spread of invasive species, especially when it comes to commercial operators who may be selling infested plant or plant products to the public. Today, the Small Business Regulatory Review Board, which was the board that represented the second to the last step in the department's rulemaking proceeding unanimously approved the rules, which authorized the Department of Agriculture to, among other things, quarantine infested plants or mandate treatment of infested plants or plant materials, which they have been authorized to do by state law since 1903 and have never actually enacted rules that they were required to publish in order to take that mandated action. So it's taken 121 years, and it's actually taken 2 years almost to the date that the Board of Agriculture approved the rules. So it's been a long journey to get the Department of Agriculture to authorize themselves to take action on invasives. And we only got there because of the support of you guys. A lot of you remember the town hall that we had in Kaneohe last fall, actually. So there's been a lot of progress made. The next step is to request that the governor sign the rules into law. I have assurance from the director of the Department of Agriculture that he will do so, but it's his decision, his discretion. We are preparing a correspondence from my office to reach out and ask him to do that. The rules were just passed today from the board. So we will probably reach back out to this board if action has not been taken, in January when you guys reconvene, and well, maybe getting involved with that. The second thing is, I attended a presentation from the Department of Taxation's state economist. Hawaii now has an economist that sits in the Department of Taxation to opine on tax policy, which I think is a very good thing because we are, unique among the states in terms of our economy and our tax structure. He gave a breakdown, 6 months out from the income tax legislation that we passed this year, which was the largest tax cut in state history, and took us from, in terms of income tax rates, in the top 5 in the country to when it's been fully implemented by 2028, will take us to the bottom 10. I'd like to offer, because I talked to him and our state tax director lives in Kaneohe, right up the hill over there. If the board is interested, I will inquire. He gave a presentation on the breakdown of the implementation of the bill and actually what it's going to do for the state. If the board's interested, I'm happy to ask him to come and present. Then we can work on getting him on the agenda. And the last piece is Hawaii Pacific University. So I know there was a recess and then the cancellation. I did speak with some of the members of the board about having someone from the DLNR come out and brief the board on the Hawaii Pacific University situation. As many of you know, Adventist Health Castle acquired the HPU property several years ago. They've elected to put the property up for sale and change course on their long-term plans for the facility. The Castle Foundation holds a reversionary right to the property if the property is not utilized for either educational or healthcare purposes. So there's a limited amount of things that can be utilized for someone who might take over the property. At the end of the legislative session, multiple members of the Windward side delegation lobbied to appropriate $21 million into the state budget to hold for due diligence for a potential state acquisition of the property. So that due diligence and negotiation is underway right now. It gets a little technical when it comes to the actual land use, but the long-term proposal would be to hopefully use the big administrative building for state personnel in the interim of a larger renovation of the Department of Health building downtown. And then the majority of the remainder of the property will be used by the Department of Land and Natural Resources, both as a base yard for some of their environmental operations that are spread out all over the place. And then also the fields that we will hopefully be able to take within our parks, within the Parks Department, and maintain the soccer fields. They have a beautiful softball field, and they have some tennis courts that have fallen into disrepair that I would love to renovate and turn into or pickleball or tennis. Get ahead, whatever the community feels appropriate. So that's it. Red Hill, HECO, insurance are other things in my Kuleana. Happy to talk about and happy to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I'm going to follow the agenda here and let all the representatives talk first before we take questions. So let's go with Senator Brent Noah.
Aloha, Vice Chair, board members, and community. Bunch of things have happened since the last time I spoke with you folks. My then manager, Samantha DeCourt, ended up becoming a senator. She's in the minority, so that ended up allowing us to organize. So for the first time in 2 years, our Senate minority is organized. I took on the role of minority leader. Samantha's minority floor leader. What this does, basically, one thing it does that we plan on using is it allows us to have a little more resources in a separate office that'll help the minority. But what we already are working on doing is allowing that office to shine more light inside the both the Senate and the House and the state capitol in general. We've hired a social media influencer to run our communications. His name is Mark Taleai. He's Mean Hawaii at on Instagram, and he's second only in following to Hawaii News Now. So that hire is specifically to show every day things that the public may not know that they may want to know, so they can be involved in the process when it comes to testifying. I'm not going to get into all of what we're planning on, what we're working on just yet. We have another meeting before session starts, but one thing that we are going to get going in the community is we're working with the city to clean, and this is right over in Kahaluu, but that's most of where my district is. Clean out Kahaluu Beach Park right next to Keahiakahoe. So we have a plan. We want to restore that, leave the natives and restore that area. And coming up, leave you guys off with this because I'm not sure if we'll be able to put out the word in time, but December 16th marks 1 year for our Kahaluu food trees. Every tree is growing well. We expect that in 5 years we'll be producing, those 70 trees will be producing a lot of ulu and mountain apple free for the community. So we're going to do a 1 year anniversary cleanup at the site. The site's clean, but we just want to bring everybody together to see what they did a year ago. With that, open for questions.
Hey, thank you, Senator. We'll go on next to Representative Lisa Kitagawa. The representative's not online or have no, doesn't represent. Next is Representative Scott Matayoshi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, everybody. Not too much to report right now. We're gearing up for session. So committee assignments are going to be coming out soon. I'm actually thought it would be out by now, but the House has reorganized itself since Speaker Slakey lost. So that's been interesting, an interesting experience for everybody. I think the Senate is a little more stable. Not too much is going to move around, but the House, kind of anything goes right now. I have been looking into a couple of things in the community. I heard a couple. I heard some complaints about the Kamehameha Highway Likelike intersection. They had disallowed, or they had blocked off one of the U-turns. I talked to DOT about that. It was always kind of DOT's plan to do that when they did the repaving. People were complaining that they couldn't make that U-turn anymore, but DOT's reasoning, just so everyone knows, is that that U-turn cut a pedestrian crosswalk twice. So it crossed over the pedestrian crosswalk twice. And that is normally just kind of a dangerous situation that they try to remedy in a lot of different places, including within our community. So it wasn't that they were trying to, make it more difficult for drivers. The real goal was to keep pedestrians safe for that. I had no idea they were going to do that before they did it, but now that it's done, I also had some questions about why they paved Kamehameha Highway and did not pave the intersection. The reason is because if they touch that intersection, they have to bring it up to code, which means changing out all the traffic lights. It's a much bigger project than simply just paving the intersection. So that should be coming sometime soon. They've promised me for years a second left turn lane going from Kamehameha Highway onto Likelike. So I'm meeting with the Department of Transportation fairly soon about that again. And when they do that, they should be redoing the intersection as well. Yeah, after that, I'm up for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Representative Matayoshi. Next up is Representative Natalia Hussey-Burdick. She's still with us. And then let's go with Representative Mike Lee. He's not online. If not, then we're open for questions for elected representatives. Are there any questions from the board? Mr. Sakamoto.
Thank you, Chair. Question for Jared. Jared, a resident came up to me from Kāne. She's 93 years old, but she couldn't come to this meeting. But I mentioned it to Jules, your manager at their office, about insurance companies dropping people's insurance for hurricane coverage. And I just want to know if there's anything that you can do to bring in the legislature about these companies. Of course, it's all a state company, but it's very disappointing that they just cut you off and don't give you the service. There's a good person that paid the premiums and never had a complaint file with them, but they get dropped like that. So that's my question. If anything can be done in this legislature on your part.
Yes. Yes and no. It's a bit of a convoluted answer. I'm going to try my best to be really quick about it. For those of you that remember when Hurricane Iniki hit, essentially what happened was that home property insurers fled the state of Hawaii, and it took about 7 years for the market to reestablish itself, which is an independent, healthy, competitive private insurance market covering homes. Because of the increasing incidence of catastrophic weather disasters around the world over the last 10 years, we just had an actuary presentation on this because the Senate has been meeting in the run-up to the legislature. There's just been a steady increase in the incidence of catastrophic, multi-billion-dollar disasters, not just across the country, but around the world. Essentially, the private investor market that underwrites property insurance is rebalancing. They've taken tremendous losses over the last 5 years. I think 4 out of the last 5 years, that private investor market that underwrites insurance has lost, I think they lost $100 billion a year, 4 out of the last 5 years in a row. And so premiums are increasing as a result. And also what's happening is that insurers are rebalancing their portfolios to try and smooth out the risk. That makes things very difficult in Hawaii, which is a majority tsunami zone, wildfire zone, hurricane zone state.
Earthquake.
Actually, no. But when it comes to insurance risk, what they are looking at in the state of Hawaii is shoreline properties, mostly over 40 years old, so single wall in a hurricane in a hurricane area, and where there are significant amounts of the state that are actually in wildfire risk that we're aware of now, but people didn't pay attention prior to the Lahaina. Most likely, what the person you spoke with, what actually happened is that when your annual insurance renewal comes up, because insurers only issue policies on a year-over-year basis, they non-renewed her. They didn't necessarily cut off her policy in the middle of her contract period. It came up for renewal and they refused to renew her, forcing her to go and search for other insurance. So what we're doing is restarting 2 programs that were initiated during Hurricane Iniki that provide a last resort insurer that the state will fund and take the risk for. There's a complicated financial process that we need to undergo and some statutory change that will try and push in bills this coming session. The policies that the state provides still need to be financially viable, and they need to meet insurance rating requirements that Fannie and Freddie Mac look for. Because if property owners purchase homeowners insurance, those insurance policies need to be rated by the financial rating agencies for banks to accept them. Otherwise, banks will force place Lloyd's of London or some sort of surplus lines insurance that's not regulated in the state of Hawaii. A lot of people want us to crack down on the insurers, but the problem we have is insurers voluntarily participate in the market in Hawaii. So if we go try and exact, an ounce of flesh or vengeance, they could just leave, which is what they're doing in California. And it's what they've been doing in Florida. So we're trying to stabilize the market right now. We're trying to work with insurers and actuaries around the country to figure out what type of home resiliency improvements they will across the board recognize that will perhaps make Hawaii homeowners more viable policyholders to try and keep people here. Things like from the fire reports, we know things like cutting back vegetation, reducing clutter, bringing your home up to code, up to modern code, roofs, basic things. But we are in this precarious market that's cyclical, and we want to try and provide a last resort for property owners in Hawaii to while we're in this cycle, and while the insurers, rebalance their disaster models and then reprice and come back in.
Well, can I have my resident call you and see what you can?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's the same answer, maybe shorter.
Okay.
So I do have a little bit of news on that too. I met with at least one AOAO board, but we had a fairly recent briefing by Island Insurance and Sue Savio, who's a broker for a lot of these AOAOs. And although Senator Keokalole is right that in 2023 there were just a ton of global disasters. 2024 was actually fairly quiet compared to the previous years. So she said that she's seen, at least in the month of October, rates start to actually come down a little bit. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be necessarily a trend. It's just kind of one data point, but it's encouraging that hopefully the market is starting to correct itself already, and with any luck, the state can step in to do kind of more temporary fixes for the AOAOs and other people who are struggling with insurance. But hopefully the market will stabilize itself and not take the 7 years that Iniki took. Fingers crossed.
Okay, thank you.
Right, let me kind of refer to our neighborhood assistant first. We have about 10 minutes or latest, or we need to wrap up pretty soon. Okay. All right, if board members don't mind, we'll continue. If any questions out here? Right, no further questions for elected representatives. Community organizations, Winter Community College. Is there a representative online? If not, next item on here is Koala Resilience Hub Network. Mr. Platel.
Okay, I won't take a lot of time. Members of the board, you have an email sent by Mo that gives a lot of information about a little PowerPoint and an upcoming symposium that we want members of the community and members of the board to come to at Windward Community College on Tuesday, 12/10. You can, the registration is, you receive the registration form. Also, if you're just here in the community, please pick up a postcard, come and talk to me before you leave. This is a community-based, community-led effort of organizations in the community banding together to provide services and communication and help to members of the community. The hope is that we form a hub of hubs in Kaneohe. There's one in Kailua, there's one in Waimanalo, there's one in Hauula, there's one at the Key Project, for example. And then it will spread throughout this island. And there are a number of different resilience efforts going on throughout this island. And the hope is, in conjunction with Serene, which is a University of Hawaii-led impetus, for all of this to become one organization, all of us working in harmony, good times and bad. So, on a daily basis, it's a resource for food security or counseling, or hey, I need my grass cut, taking care of kapuna. And in bad times, great times, and times of emergency, perhaps we would have all be working together to lessen the catastrophe. So I urge you to look at the thing, but also please come to the symposium and it'll become clear what we're after. Questions?
Questions? What day is that, the symposium again?
Tuesday, December 10th, 9 to 3, Wynwood Community College. And you have the registration form that was sent to you, all members of the board. There it is right there. And great speakers, way better than me, although I am one of them. And it's really like getting all of the community. Yes, United States Marine Corps, please, Colonel, we want you to come. To join and see how we can help each other to lessen the impact of all of the issues that we face on a daily basis and in an emergency. So good times and bad times.
Right. Questions, Mr. Sakamoto?
Yeah, thanks, Neil, for the presentation. I believe this December 2nd is the last day to register, and good to register early.
Yes, indeed. But of course, I mean, we're trying to get 250 people. So,
Yeah.
and believe me, if you register on, December 9th, we're not going to kick you out. Okay. I mean, we want you to come because we want everyone to join. And there is this is kind of based off of Vibrant Hawaii, which is a functioning resiliency hub network that is functioning on Hawaii Island. So we are sort of basing this off of what is already working. And our attempt is to start on the windward side here because we are, of course, isolated. If we all band together, we're stronger both in many, many ways. That's the whole point. It's actually Vibrant Hawaii. You can search this. In fact, on the postcard, you'll see at the bottom of the back, email ku'alauhubs@vibranthawaii.org, because we are still utilizing their, we're using their server actually to start this. We have help from the Bishop Foundation and Vibrant Hawaii in order to start this windward. And actually, this is, part of that is the We Coalition, which Dale and I came up with. The Windward Emergency Coalition would be part of that. It's all, we want everyone to be part of this. That just working together. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good briefing. Any other further questions? Just want to thank the elected representatives for coming on and providing their comments. Really appreciate your continued service. And just one question, I guess, when does your term officially start? Are you, I know you're already reelected, but do you have a inauguration or new sworn-in date?
I believe the challenge period exhausts on Tuesday, so that is when we are expecting to get our election certificates. I was elected this year, so it's a 4-year term that expires in 2028.
Thank you. Okay, let's go on to board business. Okay, the first item is approval of October 2024 minutes. Have board members reviewed it? Is there a motion to accept any comments?
Motions to accept the minutes. Actually, it was my minutes.
Okay, we have a motion to accept. Is there a second? Okay, second motion has been moved and seconded. If without objections, minutes are approved. Next item here is discussion and possible voting on good government reforms. Is there a board member who is introducing that? Good government reforms.
Yeah, so it was a resolution that was forwarded by Mo via email. I will introduce it as a resolution for us to approve or disapprove. I'll enter.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Any discussions? Yeah, do you want to read it or kind of let us know what it's about? Okay, so motion is to table it. And I think with table, we can just move on. It's being tabled, right? Okay. All right, next item is board committee reports and assignments. Does any board member have a report for any of their committee assignments or boards they sit on? Mr. Sakamoto?
For transportation, I attended the Honolulu Rate Commission. This is a commission that does for the city bus, Paratransit, and Skyline rate increases. October 8th, Director Roger Morton elaborated on his presentation about doing cash fares on the bus and charging a surcharge, which was unusual. He wants everybody to go with the digital holo card or tap it with your phone. So I was kind of, I believe we should still have cash fare, but he said it would save the city a lot of money from counting all that money. So that's all I have to say for transportation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sakamoto. Mr. Carstensen?
Thank you, Chair. Just from our Committee on Emergency Management, I'd like to bring up a few points. It's been over 42 years. Tomorrow that we had Hurricane Eva on the island that severely impacted the island of Kauai. I bring that up in that we're going to be closing in on the hurricane season at the end of this month, but we should be very thankful that we did not have an emergency of that magnitude strike us in 2024, but it's also time to prepare for 2025 in the future. And some of the things I'd like to point out, if I may, is please take the time to go into the Department of Emergency Management at the city level. They have updated training modules on shelter operations and what to do in the case of an emergency. They also have a very interactive site now that they're trying to develop to get community feedback, and I think that's important for each of us to be involved there. I'd also like to point out, if you'd like additional training, FEMA offers independent study courses that have been introduced at 4 different levels. If you need the address to go to training.fema.gov and go into emergency services. And just in closing, what we are learning, Chair, and to the board, is that there are a tremendous number of resources out there that involve emergency management, but there's a lack of alignment. The state does one thing, the city and county does another thing, the community aspires to do things. We just need to bring it together. So that's one of the things that we want to try to continue to work for. Thank you.
Right, thank you much for your efforts there. And Mr. Whitehall. I did sit on the Oahu Metropolitan Planning Organization. They've been, OPO did do a fact-finding trip out to Los Angeles and looking at some different ideas, and also to Europe about community transportation, walkability. So the next OMPO meeting is on December 5th, right? December 5th, first Wednesday of the month. So if you have any, if you'd like to participate in discussion, it's open to the public too. Right, any more board committee reports and assignments? If there are none further, we'll go on to announcements. First announcement is the Foreman Fishing EIS comment deadline is January 6, 2025. That's from Board Member Bryant. December 19th, 2024 is a short meeting with city and state monthly reports and adjournment for holiday potluck gathering and community fellowship. Location has not yet been confirmed. We're hoping it'll be back here at Ben Parker, but you'll be updated. Please look for the agenda when it comes out for confirmation of location. And next regular board meeting is Thursday, January 16th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at Benjamin Parker Elementary School, and also available virtually online with login credentials listed on page 1 of this document. Okay, Mr. Sakamoto, you have something?
Yes, I just want to remind everybody, don't forget December 7th, Saturday is our Christmas parade Kāne. And Chair, I think, what time does that thing start?
Starts at 9 o'clock, and if you want it, the parade entries need to be set at 8 o'clock in the staging areas.
Okay, and that's by Windward Mall?
By Windward Mall. So the board has 2 vehicles as an entry. I think we can talk offline on how you're going to participate, but please be at Windward Mall at 8 o'clock as entries that are going down the parade route.
Thank you.
Okay, and then I just want to reiterate, I think we have the most board members today. We have 3 online. But unfortunately, we can't take a picture, but hopefully you can come to our December meeting and get a good picture of our board and have it updated on the city website. I think there's a picture at the Satellite City Hall that is about 15 years old of the board members. So I hope we can get a new picture there.
Oh yeah, Chair, don't forget.
Yeah.
There's
Just a second.
just a reminder that there's a meeting this coming Friday next week it's going to be the Neighborhood Board Commission meeting, and they're going to talk about the resolution that they're trying to pass the legislature regarding the sunshine law for neighborhood boards. Yeah. Good luck.
That's, it's a very interesting
Are we
topic.
allowed to talk about it in advance or have to get it into, we have to get it in the agenda first?
Yeah, we have to get an agenda right for sunshine law, whatever. Okay, sorry, I shouldn't have said whatever, but all right, the next item on the agenda is adjournment and is there a motion to adjourn? Okay, second, without objection, we're adjourned.